You're not failing because you're lazy, unmotivated, or broken. You're failing because there's a part of you you're refusing to meet. Imagine this. Every time you get close to success, an opportunity, a healthy relationship, a big goal, something inside you quietly pulls the plug. You procrastinate, you pick a fight, you disappear. Then you blame willpower, timing, or bad luck. But what if it isn't bad luck at all? What if it's your shadow, an entire hidden side of you, steering your life from the dark? In this video, I'm going to show you why the very qualities you're most ashamed of, afraid of, or desperate to hide might actually hold the key to your destiny. We'll talk about what the shadow really is, how it forms, how it secretly shapes your choices, and how facing it can unlock clarity, power, and purpose you didn't know you had. Let's step into the dark on purpose. Before we dive into techniques, we need a clear map. The idea of the shadow comes largely from psychologist Carl Jung. He wasn't talking about something evil or mystical, but about the parts of ourselves we push out of awareness, our repressed emotions, impulses, memories, and even our unclaimed strengths. From childhood, we learn what is acceptable and what gets us love, approval, and safety. Everything that doesn't fit, our anger, sensitivity, sexuality, ambition, creativity, even our neediness, gets pushed into the basement of the psyche. That basement is the shadow. The problem is, what you exile doesn't disappear. It leaks out sideways as self-sabotage, addictions, perfectionism, burnout, people-pleasing, explosive anger, or numbness. In this video, we'll explore how your shadow forms, how it quietly designs your life, and how to start working with it safely. This isn't about fixing a broken you, it's about meeting the parts you abandoned and discovering what they've been protecting and hiding for years. Let's make this concrete. What exactly is the shadow? Think of your personality as a house. The living room is what you show others, your curated self, polite, capable, in control. The shadow lives in the locked rooms you never let anyone see and often don't enter yourself. It holds emotions you were punished or shamed for, anger, fear, sadness, jealousy, needs you decided were too much, affection, attention, rest, boundaries, traits that felt dangerous, ambition, sexuality, assertiveness, vulnerability, even positive qualities you were told you're not, talented, lovable, intelligent. When these parts were first exiled, it was adaptive. It kept you safe, accepted, or less at risk. But as an adult, that same strategy can turn into a cage. Your shadow is not a villain. It's a storage room of disowned parts, still trying to protect you based on outdated information. And until you open that door consciously, it'll keep finding unconscious ways to run your life. Your shadow begins forming the moment you discover that some parts of you are welcomed and others are dangerous. Picture a little kid who throws a tantrum and hears, "Stop crying or I'll give you something to cry about." In that moment, they don't think, emotional repression. They think, my feelings are bad. If I show them, I'll lose love or safety. So they split. A good version of themselves comes forward, calm, agreeable, pleasing, while the emotional, messy, needy parts get pushed down. This doesn't just happen in harsh homes. Even in loving families, you might have heard, "We're not angry people, don't brag, or be strong." Those messages teach you which traits belong in the light and which get exiled. School, culture, religion, and social media reinforce it. Bit by bit, you construct a mask, your persona. Everything that doesn't match that mask gets stuffed into the shadow, where it waits and grows powerful in the dark. Here's where it gets uncomfortable. Your shadow doesn't just hold pain, it also holds power. Many people bury their anger so deeply they can't set boundaries. They appear nice, but feel resentful, exhausted, and constantly taken advantage of. Their anger isn't gone, it's just gone underground, emerging as passive aggression, withdrawal, or sudden explosions. The same happens with desire and ambition. Maybe you were taught, don't be selfish, or who do you think you are? So you dim your wants, lower your standards, and call it humility. Meanwhile, your shadowed ambition sabotages relationships, careers, and health because it's desperate to be acknowledged. Ironically, your purpose is often entangled with what you've repressed. The things you're most ashamed of or terrified to admit, your sensitivity, intensity, creativity, even your rage, often point directly toward your calling. You don't find destiny by polishing your mask. You find it by reclaiming the raw material you locked away in the dark. So how does the shadow actually show up in your day-to-day life? Mostly through self-sabotage. You say you want love, but you're drawn to emotionally unavailable people. You want money, but you forget deadlines, avoid difficult conversations, or overspend the moment you get ahead. You want visibility, but you procrastinate, overthink, and miss every opportunity. This isn't random. Your conscious mind is saying go forward while your shadow is screaming forward is dangerous. Maybe love once meant betrayal, success once meant pressure or envy, visibility once meant being bullied or shamed. So your shadow runs protection programs, procrastinate so you can't be judged, stay small so you can't be attacked, choose chaos so stability never gets the chance to be taken away. Until you listen to the hidden logic behind your self-sabotage, you'll keep fighting yourself and losing. Shadow work is about understanding why the sabotage exists, so you can update the strategy instead of just trying to overpower it. One of the clearest mirrors of your shadow is projection, seeing in others what you can't accept in yourself. Think about the traits that instantly trigger you in people: arrogance, neediness, flakiness, intensity, coldness. Yes, sometimes your judgment is accurate, but often the emotional charge is a clue. Your shadow is being poked. Maybe you hate dramatic people because you were never allowed to express your emotions. You suppressed your own drama to survive, so now you attack it in others. Or you resent selfish people because your needs were always sidelined, and you learn to pride yourself on self-sacrifice, while secretly aching for permission to choose yourself. A powerful question is, what do I judge harshly in others that I'm terrified might also live in me? This doesn't mean you must like every behavior. It means you use your reactions as data. Your triggers are treasure maps, pointing straight toward the parts of you that are begging to be seen, understood, and integrated. To work with the shadow, we need to drop the idea that it's a monster to slay. It's more like a scared, exiled part that still thinks you're 5 years old. Start by shifting your attitude from judgment to curiosity. Instead of, what's wrong with me? Try, what is this part trying to protect? When you catch yourself procrastinating, overreacting, or spiraling, pause. Say internally, a part of me is activated right now. That simple phrase creates just enough distance to observe instead of merge. Then ask, if this part could talk, what would it say? What is it afraid will happen if I change? Write down whatever comes, without censoring. Often you'll hear surprisingly rational fears: rejection, humiliation, responsibility, loss. This is the beginning of integration, not forcing the shadow to disappear, but letting it update its information. You today are not the child who first needed those defenses. Your job is to show that part who you've become and what's actually possible now. Let's walk through a simple, practical shadow exercise you can try after this video. Step 1. Identify a recurring pattern, some area where you keep getting stuck: relationships, money, health, creativity. Step 2. Write at the top of a page, a part of me that sabotages this area says, then free write for 5 minutes, letting that sabotaging part speak in first person. Don't edit. Let it be raw, petty, dramatic. You might discover thoughts like, if we succeed, people will expect more, or if we open up, we'll get abandoned again. Step 3. Switch roles. Respond as your adult self. I hear that you're afraid of bye. Here's what's different now. Offer reassurance, boundaries, and new options. This sounds simple, but it surfaces the unconscious contracts running your life. When they're on paper, you can renegotiate. Over time, repeating this dialogue teaches your shadowed parts that you're capable of protecting them without staying small, stuck, or invisible. Another powerful doorway into your shadow is the inner critic, that relentless voice that says, "You're not enough. You always screw this up. Who do you think you are?" Most people either believe this voice completely or try to drown it out with forced positivity. Both approaches miss the point. The critic is usually a protective part that learned, if I attack you first, maybe others can't hurt you as much. It internalized the harsh teachers, parents, peers, or cultural messages you absorbed, and now it runs preemptive strikes. Instead of arguing with it, try interviewing it. Ask, when did you first show up? Whose voice do you sound like? What are you afraid would happen if you stopped criticizing me? Often, you'll find deep loyalty. It's been working overtime to keep you safe from shame, failure, or exclusion. Shadow work here means two things: setting boundaries with this part and updating its job description from punisher to protector that works with you, not against you. Your destiny isn't just about career or external success. It's about becoming the fullest, most integrated version of yourself. That requires emotion, especially the ones you were taught to avoid. Many of us live emotionally numb but functional. We don't feel too high or too low. On the surface, that looks stable. Underneath, it's often a sign of heavy shadow suppression. Emotions are data, not problems. Anger can signal violated boundaries. Envy can reveal buried desire. Shame can show where you still believe you're fundamentally wrong. Shadow work invites you to feel without being flooded. Practices like somatic awareness, simply noticing where in your body an emotion lives and naming it out loud, this is fear, help bring it into consciousness. The more you can safely feel, the more life force becomes available. Creativity, intuition, and a sense of purpose don't grow in emotional concrete. They grow in soil that's been watered by your full range of experience, including the messy parts. Let's talk about relationships because they are shadow accelerators. We don't attract types by accident. We attract patterns that resonate with our unresolved material. That distant partner you keep choosing might echo a distant parent. That controlling boss might mirror the authority you never learned to challenge. Your shadow also shapes how you show up. If you've buried your needs, you may become the caretaker, overgiver, or therapist in every relationship, then quietly resent that no one cares for you. If you've buried vulnerability, you might keep things surface level or intellectual, wondering why you feel lonely even when you're connected. Healthy relationships don't require a fully healed self, but they do require self-honesty. Try asking, what role do I unconsciously play? What do I silently expect others to give me that I've denied myself? As you reclaim exiled parts, your needs, your voice, your anger, your desires, you stop outsourcing them to others, and your relationships become less about survival and more about genuine connection. Ultimately, your shadow is directly tied to your destiny because it guards your unlived life. Think of all the times you didn't speak up, didn't apply, didn't create, didn't leave, didn't love, because a hidden part whispered, "It's not safe." Each unopened door became a ghost version of you, the artist you didn't become, the leader you never tried to be, the lover you held back from. Those ghost lives accumulate in the shadow as grief, resentment, and a low-level sense that you're off track. When you begin integrating, something shifts. The anger you were afraid of becomes fuel for advocacy or leadership. The sensitivity you hid becomes a superpower in coaching, art, or healing. The independence you suppressed becomes the backbone of a business or mission. Your destiny isn't somewhere out there. It's locked inside the very parts of you you've been running from. Integration doesn't hand you a perfect path, but it gives you back the steering wheel. Let's distill all of this into a few core takeaways. First, your shadow is not evil. It's the collection of parts you had to hide to survive: emotions, needs, memories, and strengths. Exiling them kept you safe once. Now it keeps you small. Second, The shadow runs your life indirectly through self-sabotage, projections, inner criticism, emotional numbness, and repeating relationship patterns. Where you feel most stuck, you'll usually find an exiled part trying to protect you. Third, integration isn't force or positivity, it's relationship. You learn to notice your reactions, name the activated part, listen to its fears, and update its old strategies with your current reality. Fourth, your destiny is encoded in what you've repressed. The traits you're most ashamed of or afraid to own, your intensity, sensitivity, ambition, depth, often point directly toward your purpose. When you stop fighting your shadow and start collaborating with it, you don't become someone new. You finally become fully yourself. If this video sparked something in you, don't let it stay as insight only. Turn it into practice. Here's what you can do next. 1. Pick one recurring pattern in your life and run the journaling exercise we walked through. Let your sabotaging part speak, then respond as your adult self. 2. For the next week, whenever you feel triggered or self-critical, pause and ask, what is this part trying to protect? Write down whatever comes. 3. If you want a deeper dive, explore books and resources on shadow work, parts work, and somatic healing. If you'd like more guided support, subscribe to the channel. I'll be creating more long-form breakdowns, practical exercises, and real-life case studies around shadow work, purpose, and emotional mastery. Drop a comment sharing one insight you had about your own shadow while watching this. Your story might be the mirror someone else needs. Remember, the parts you fear most are often the ones you came here to express. Don't run from them. Walk toward them slowly with curiosity.